All right. Vayachar dvarim ha'ilev Elokim nisa es Avram. God tested Avram Avinu. But the word nisa, also in Hebrew, is we say in the Shemona Esrei every day, V'sa nes lekabetz gulu yosenu. Raise up a banner to gather up our exiles. A nes, a miracle, and a test are the same root. Because when there's a miracle, what the nature of a miracle is that everybody notices it. A banner that's raised high up in the air, everybody notices it. So whenever there's a miracle takes place, the splitting of the sea or beepers going off, so everybody's aware of it. Whenever there's a miracle, everybody's aware of it. So Elokim Nisa es Avram has two meanings over here. Number one, he tested him. But number one, he's going to elevate him. He elevates Avram Avinu by means of this test. He's going to step into a new level if he manages to pass this test. That's what a test is. So Vayomer lev Avram b'eineni. So Hashem says to Avram like this: Vayomer kachna es bincha, take your son. Avram said to Hashem, I have two sons. Es yechidcha, your only son. He says, well, each one's an only son to his mother. Asher ahavta, the one you love. He says, well, I love them both. Third line. Page 100. Es Yitzchak. Let's make it clear. It's Yitzchak. V'lech lecha el eretz ha-Moriah, go to the land of Moriah. V'aleu sham le'ola, bring him up as an offering, a burnt offering. Al achad ha'arim asher amar lecha. So Avram is told, now take your son, and you're going to bring him up as a burnt offering, as a sacrifice. That means you're going to kill him. You're going to shecht him. And what would a normal person's attitude be, knowing that the next day he's got to go and he's going to have to shecht the son that he's waited and finally had after 100, he's 100 years old, and maybe that's why it's on page 100. So why is it that he said that all of a sudden a person's going to have to go shecht the son? What would happen? Two funny things would happen. First of all, how much would he sleep the next night? That night? Not great. Not at all. And look what it says the next pasuk. Vayashkem Avram baboker. Avram wakes up early the next morning. First of all, it means he slept. Second of all, he got up early. I mean, even if you would sleep, the guy's got to do that. I'd kind of drag your feet. It's not like you see two things about Avram Avinu over here. Number one, he was completely relaxed about it. Why? Because if God said to do it, I got to do it. What's the difference if God said to me to put up a mezuzah, or if God said to put on tefillin, or God says to shech his son? It's all God's command. I'll do what God wants me to do. That's a level of bitachon. The Chovos HaLevavos says, that in English it's translated, the duties of the heart. What's the test of bitachon, of trust in God? What is the true test of a person if you really, truly test Ooh, that's a good one. Say it 100 times. Truly, really, truly test in Hashem. Really, truly trust in the trust in Hashem. Right? The really, truly is demonstrated by how relaxed you are. When it's Erev Shabbos and the washing machine overflows with 17 minutes left to Shabbos and the floor is flooded, or some other item in the house overflows, and you have your Mechutanim are coming, and your house full of, you're relaxed. Okay, we're into science fiction here, but you're relaxed. Why? It's a test. Hashem wants me to be in this situation. What's different? What situation He puts me in? He put me in this situation. I didn't put myself in this situation. What are you getting all tensed about? What are you getting all bent out of shape about? You're on your way to catch a plane, and you get stuck in traffic. And it's a long traffic jam. And you start sweating and teaching everybody on the highway new vocabulary words. Oh, no, you just relax. Gam Zulatov, it's all for the best. Hashem obviously wants, this is the best situation for me that could possibly be. That's the test of bitachon. It's a hard level. I'm not, don't worry, I'm also a vocabulary teacher. It's a hard level. But a person ultimately understands that whatever's happening in my life this is what's happening. So Avram Avinu, listen, Vayashkem, he went to sleep and they got up early because he's going to do a mitzvah. When you do a mitzvah, you should go to do the mitzvah as soon as possible. Hashem said to do it. So Avraham Avinu gets up to do it. So Avraham Avinu goes off with Yitzchak and with his two, with Eliezer and Yishmael, and they go marching off. Now, let's understand two things here about this test. The test of the Akeidah is a triple layer test. There are three layers of test over here. What are the three tests? The first test is simply the agony of a father who has to go and slaughter his son. There isn't a father in the world who wouldn't give up his life rather than slaughter his own son. So the first test over here is simply the test, the difficulty of the test itself, which is the test of the present. But there's also a test of the future. Because if he shechs his son, he doesn't have grandchildren from him. God told him he's going to have a nation coming from Yitzchak, and he's now about, with one cut of the knife, he's going to throw away his entire future. The difficulty of the presence and throwing away the entire future that he has no future to look forward to. There's nothing coming from him. He had said to God, God, listen, what could you possibly give me if I don't have children? And he's about to throw it away with one slice. That's layer number two. Layer number three is he's throwing away his entire past. What was Avram Avinu doing his entire life? He was preaching against a pagan world that was also involved in human sacrifice. He was preaching against, we don't do that. Human sacrifice is frowned upon in Judaism. The closest you get to human sacrifice, for those of you who need to engage in human sacrifice, the closest you get is when you have a son and you do a bris. And when you give the knife to the moel, you're not going to do it yourself, gentlemen, and you give the knife to the moel. So if you know, the moel is a ritual circumciser. So usually most will tell you, you are appointing me a shliach, because it's really the mitzvah for the father. The mitzvah is for the father, but you got to get training to do it, so you don't do that. You give the knife, so you're making a shliach, because he's a professional. You make him a shliach to do, right? We've learned about shliach in the Gemara. He's your agent. He's going to take the knife, and then he says to you, the baby is a sacrifice. The lap of the sandik is the one who holds the baby, is an altar. That's as close as we get to human sacrifice. In the pagan world, they did that. The pagan world, there was actually human sacrifice. How they choose who's going to get sacrificed, I'm not sure. Okay, Frank, can we talk to you for a second? Yeah, I got some good news and some bad news. Yeah, what's the good news? The good news is you're going to get a really good view of the entire area, because see that altar up there? We're going all the way up there. It's a great view. Yeah, what's the bad news? Well, the view's not going to last very long because we're about to sacrifice you. So I'm not sure exactly how they chose who gets to go up there and get sacrificed. But Avram Avinu is preaching against that. He's preaching against the pagan world. And all of a sudden he's going to go up, and everything he's done and preached about is going to become worthless. Because word's going to get out that guy has sacrificed his own son. So he's a hypocrite. Nothing he told us is worthwhile. It's a triple layer test. It's a triple layer test. That's the difficulty of this test that Avraham Avinu Hashem subjects him to. So what happens? They go off and take a look at page 102. And on page Pasuk 7, they're on their way up there. They take the fire and the knife. And what do you call it? Vayomer Yitzchak el Avram. It's 6 lines from the top. Vayomer Yitzchak el Avram aviv. Yitzchak says to Avram, his father, Vayomer Avi, my father. Vayomer Hineni b'ni, yes, my son. Hine ha'esh v'ha'itzim. Here's the fire and the wood. Where's the sheep that we're meant to be sacrificing? Vayomer Avraham Elokim yir elo haset le'olah b'ni. God will show us the sheep for slaughter my son. Now that can be read as two ways. It could be, God will show us the sheep for slaughter, comma, my son. Or it can be read as, God will show us the sheep, comma, for slaughter my son. And at that point, Yitzchak realizes that he's the sheep. It's all about the comma, gentlemen. It's all about the comma. The story, this kid, there's a hotel. The hotel's got a swimming pool. So the kid dives in, he starts swimming in the swimming pool, the hotel swimming pool. So the guard comes out, he says, hey, Can't you see the sign? It says no swimming allowed. The kid learned Gemara. He says, that's not what it says. It says, no, swimming allowed. That's why we learn Gemara, gentlemen. That's why we learn Gemara. So it's all about the comma. Vayelchu shteihem yachdav. Now, there's something very unique over here. Something very unique over here. And I don't use it. Don't use it, guys. I don't want to read about you getting arrested. Oh, that was Kaplan told us we could do this. I'm not bailing you out. So there's something very unique here. If you look through all the book of Bereshis, ever since the time of Avram Avinu, we find Avram talking to a lot of people. Talks to Lot, he talks to Sarah, talks to Avimelech, he talks to Paro, he talks to Avimelech again. He's always talking to people. There's one person we don't find any conversation with. Who is it? Yitzchak. Never find Avram talking to Yitzchak. How do you like that? Father didn't talk to his son? After all those years, never talked to him? And then the first time we find any conversations when he's on his way to slaughter him. What's going on? The answer is, he spoke to Yitzchak hundreds of times. The Torah, see, that's the beauty of the Torah. The Torah is so deep that not only the Torah teaches you by what it says, it teaches you by what it doesn't say. It never mentions that Avram spoke to Yitzchak. You know why? Because that's not how you teach your kids. We mentioned this before. How do you teach your kids? You teach your kids through your actions, not through your talking. Spoke to the Medrash says they learned Torah together, they were in Yeshiva together. The Medrash says the behind-the-scenes stories, they talked all the time. But the Torah doesn't mention any conversation. All the Torah says over here is twice. Yitzchak says to him, Vayomer Aviv, Hineni, here I am, my son. And he says, okay, where's the sheep? And Avram says, Hashem will show us the sheep. That's it. That's the whole conversation. Now, you'll notice both times Avram addresses Yitzchak. What does he use? My son. Torah teaches you something there also. If you want a successful relationship with your kids, and this is in Judaism and religion and always, there's got to be a bond of affection between father and son. That means even when he does talk to him, he says, my son. It's a term of endearment, a term of affection. One of the biggest problems kids have, especially boys, is they didn't feel a strong connection with their father. They didn't feel a connection that the father, often, they feel my father didn't love me. He told me what to do, but I didn't feel that connection with my father. Torah's teaching you have to have that connection. Many kids that I've spoken to over the years, kids from the frum homes who have gone off. Kids have gone off the religious path. There isn't any one specific reason, but the most common thread that I found is some sort of clash with the father. Father was too tough, and often you don't want your kids to repeat your mistakes. And so you're make sure you bench, make sure you daven, make sure you get up on time. It's too harsh. And kids who are resentful when they become teenagers, religious kids, they know that if they want to get their parents back, you hit them right into religion. For some reason, they sense that. If I'm going to get you, I'm going to get you right into religion. And a lot of it stems from the fact that the fathers and sons do not have that connection. They don't have that strong enough bond. I heard about a guy once. He had two boys, and both of them left the path. So they came to a certain one of these rabbis who deals with these struggling from youth, right? SFYs, right? There's FFBs and BTs and SFYs. There's also that ADHD, and you got all the letters. Everybody's a letter. You forget your name. You're a letter. So these SFYs, so they came to this rabbi who deals with these kids. So the rabbi they said, well, our father didn't love us. So they went to the father. He called in the father, spoke to him, and says, why? Your son said you never kissed them. Is that true? He says, it's true. He said, why not? He says, because I once read the Chafetz Chaim never kissed his children. You and the Chafetz Chaim, huh? You did everything else the Chafetz Chaim does? The Chafetz Chaim also didn't speak Lashon Hara in his life, and he died when he was 94. You also make that claim. The Chafetz Chaim also wrote a Mishnah Berurah. Did you do that? No. You picked up one. You have a problem expressing yourself emotionally, don't blame the Chafetz Chaim. Go talk to somebody who could help you out. Don't go blaming the Chafetz Chaim. You want to hear a terrible story? You'll love it. I once heard this, terrible. There was a what do you call it? A Pesach Seder. So at the Pesach Seder, so it's the extended family with all the married kids and the Mechutanim. That was 30, 40 people in the room. And, the father, at a certain point, he's looking for the Afikomen. And the Afikomen got stolen, and somebody took the Afikomen. Who was it? It's his 17-year-old son. 17-year-old son was the youngest one in the room. So the father's looking around, where's my afikoman? And father said, who's got the afikoman? Finally, there's 17 in front of all these guests. 17-year-old son stands up. He says, I got it, Dad. So everybody starts chuckling. Father says, okay, what do you want? What kind of car is it going to be? Ha, ha, ha. So the kid starts crying. He says, Dad, what I want is right now in front of everybody for the first time in my life, you should give me a hug and a kiss. That's what I want. Now that's awkward. Can you imagine the spot on the table these people found? Wow, what an interesting spot. Never saw a spot like that before. Right. So don't give them the excuse. Don't give them the excuse. Oh, I'll tell you another one. There was this. Oh, you're gonna love this. I'm on a roll. Maybe because my wife's out with the credit card now, so I'm in a bad mood. I'll share it with you. There's this little girl in a gan. You know what a gan is? Like a kindergarten. So little Miriam has a birthday party. So her mother bakes cupcakes for all the kids at the birthday party. So what are you laughing at? You know the story? Nice. Huh? I know, I'm just telling you the truth. The mother bakes cupcakes for all the little kids. So she goes to the gang. So little Miriam's mother, so Miriam starts handing out the cupcakes. So she hands them out, and then she gives one cupcake to all the kids. Little Pnina gets a cupcake too. So immediately the kindergarten teacher gets up and she pulls the cupcake away from Pnina. So Miriam says, why'd you take the cupcake away from her? She says, her mother doesn't let her have any sugar. She's not on it, and she can't have it. Oh, come on, she had a cupcake. You took it away. You have to take it away. And I gave it to her once. One time won't hurt. She said, I did it once, and I got an earful from her mother. Forget it, I'm not doing that again. She takes away the cupcake. Okay, so all the kids are eating. Little Pnina's crying. And then they finish eating, and they go into the next room, the play area. They're on the play area. And then the kindergarten teacher starts looking around, and where's little Pnina? She's not there. She goes back into the other room. She's crawling around on the floor eating the crumbs that fell from the other kids' cupcakes. Yeah, isn't that great? So you can't, when you're a parent, be smart. None of us we all want the kids to be healthy. Everybody wants it. If you're going to be extreme, you're going to destroy the kids. You just destroy them. You can't live. We know the ideals. We all know sugar's not good for you. We all know food coloring's not good for you. And we all know. My grandchildren were just over. Boy, did I sugar them up. And I make sure when they come over, I get the most colorful ones too. So that my kids could then really chase them around. There's a little bit of payback over there. Daddy, not so much. Don't tell me what to do. I raised you. Come here, kid. You want another one? Why? You thought the other one was good? Watch this. This is chocolate-coated sugar bombs. Here you go. What do you call it? You gotta live like a normal person. You can't. I always know the kids in shul whose parents were like, no health, just health, sugar, no sugar. You know how I could tell? Because anytime there's a kiddush in shul, those kids were the ones that dove in. There was a kid walking with green frosting on his forehead, because he dove into the cake. And I've known parents, a kid comes home from school, he's got a bag, they have a siyum or something, you give him a bag of goodies. And they pull out all the candies and all the chocolate, and they let the kid with, a couple of dates and raisins. So what does the kid learn? The kid learns, eat it before you get home. Or the mother's noshing it in the back room. Just eat it. Wait. So you have to be, okay, so that's Avram Avinu, that's there's the affection of Bini, my son. Okay, I'm on the way to slaughter you. That's just a detail. That's like because Hashem said so. But I love you to pieces over here. But I have to do it. And Yitzchak goes along willingly. Now watch this. This is a shocker. Avram Avinu in Pasuk Yud, and we are benefiting from this all through Jewish history now. We're benefiting from what Avram Avinu did. Pasuk Yud, 7 lines from the bottom. Vayishlach Avraham es yodo. Avram extends his hand. Vayikach es ha'ma'acheles. He takes the knife, lishchot es beno. He was going to shecht his son. And the Hashem knows he's going to shecht his son. And at that point, Vayikra elav malach Hashem min hashamayim, the angel calls, Vayomer Avraham, Vayomer ineni. Vayomer al tishlach yadcha el anar. Don't touch him. Val taslo ma'uma, don't do anything. Now that seems repetitive. Don't set your hand against him. Don't do anything Ki ata yadati kirei elokim ata. Now I know that you're God-fearing. V'lo chasachta es binchas yichad ben. You have not withheld your son. Now take a look at Rashi for a second. And where's the Rashi here? It's the bottom line on the right column of Rashi. Al tishlach. Everybody see that? If you see it, please show the person next to you. Al tishlach. Don't set your hand out lishchot, to shecht him. Amar lo. So Avram said, Im kain, if so, lechinam basikan. I came here for no reason. Esa bo chabola. Let me just make a wound, a cut. Ve'otzi mimenu me'adam. And let it draw a little bit of blood. Amar lo al tas lo me'uma. Don't do anything. Al tas bo mum. Don't make any blemish on him. The Rashi is quoting the Medrash. The Medrash says there's a whole conversation here. The Malach says to Avram Avinu, don't shecht him. And Avram Avinu said back to the Malach, Rashi doesn't have the full conversation. Avram Avinu said back to the Malach, should I strangle him instead? And he says, no, don't strangle him. He says, should I at least make a cut and draw some blood? He says, no, don't make a cut and draw. So he says, so what am I going to do? So he says, well, there's a ram over there. So Avram Avinu takes the ram and he shechts the ram. And Rashi brings down later, he shechted the ram and said, let it be as if this is Yitzchak. Now what was he going to do, gentlemen? If he would have shechted Yitzchak, what would he have done? What? Take the lamb home, yeah. Have some lamb chops. There's more for me now because he's not here. Well, what would he have done if he would have shechted Yitzchak? He wouldn't have left the body lying there. What was he have done? He would have put him on the altar, would have burnt him. What do you do with an ola? You shecht it, then you cut it into pieces, you skin it, shecht it, skin it, cut it into pieces, and put it on the altar. I don't know if he would have done all that to you. It's like, certainly would have burnt him. That's how you bring an offering. You don't just shecht it, you put it on the altar, and you burn it. So the Medrash says, every step of the way, when he shechted the ram, so let it be as if this is Yitzchak. Cut it into pieces, let it be as if this is Yitzchak. Put it on the altar, and you burn it, let it be as if this is Yitzchak. There are two big problems here, gentlemen. Problem number one, what was the way with the Malach? The Malach comes to him and says, don't shecht him. Should I strangle him? Could I strangle him instead? No, don't strangle him. Should I make how about a cut? No, make a cut. See, sometimes in life you're in a situation where you want to be overly gracious to show how, you want to be overly offering to show how gracious you are. Never happened to you? And then the guy calls your bluff. And, yeah, you take the last piece. No, you take the last piece. No, you take it. Okay, I will. Yeah. My father all of a sudden once did that to me. There's one last piece of pie. He said, Dad, take the pie. I said, no, you take the pie. I said, Dad, you take the pie. He looked at me and he goes, okay, I will. And he took it. He said, if you offer it, make sure you mean it. From now on, I just don't offer. It's like, no. By the way, no Jewish mother would ever take the last piece of pie. A Jewish mother with a teenage son would never take the last piece. She'd hurl herself out a window if she took the last piece of pie. For a father, it's like, sometimes you're sitting at a table with your father, he's reading the newspaper, and you're looking at that last piece, and your father's like, oh, pretty good. And you're just like, whoa. And he doesn't even know you exist. He's behind it. Now, mother, she would never do it. Okay, that's the difference between mothers and fathers. He did it to teach me a lesson. My father did it, and he taught me the lesson. I learned the lesson. I said, what if the Malach says, don't shecht him? Should I strangle him? Hey, great idea. We didn't think of that up here. Yeah, I want you to strangle him. Well, what is that? And then he comes home, and he's got to talk to his wife. I got some good news and some bad news. What's the good news? The good news is I was supposed to shecht Yitzchak, but I didn't. Oh, that's good. What's the bad news? Well, I suggested strangling him, and they said, yeah. Well, why did you have to say that? And then they're off to the races. Well, you said, well, what's going on here? They said, no, don't strangle him. He says, can I make a cut? No, don't make a cut. What's going on? Number one. Number two, say shechts the ram. Let it be as if this is Yitzchak. Let it be as if this is Yitzchak. There's only one problem. It's not Yitzchak. It's not Yitzchak. So what did you gain by saying, let's pretend it's Yitzchak. But he'd still rather shech the ram than shech the Yitzchak. So what did you gain by that? So the fundamental principle in Torah growth over here. The commentaries say like this. Think of an example. I can think of two examples. Imagine the kid who's scared to go on a roller coaster. And one day, I wasn't a roller coaster guy. I was a demon on the merry-go-round, But those horses go up and down, with holding onto that pole for dear life. But the roller coasters were not for me. Okay, one day there's a little peer pressure. Come on, Kaplan, you chicken, bark, 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 which I heard many times in my life. Okay, they were out at the amusement park, and I finally psyched myself up. I'm going on this roller coaster. I'm going to do it. I think I did it twice in my life. I psyched myself up. Okay, so you go up there, and the whole time I'm just like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? But I'm going to do it. And it takes a lot of emotional psyching to get myself to this state. And you get up and you're ready to get on, you're strapped into the roller coaster, and all of a sudden the guy says, oh, by the way, I just got word there's a malfunction and the ride's closed for the rest of the day. What would your knee-jerk reaction be at that moment? I'll give you a better example. When I went to college, back in Princeton, so no, I didn't go to Princeton, but I'm sure this happens in Princeton too. When I was in college in Chicago, in University, the first thing every single instructor said, man or woman, when they came into a class, the first thing the guy said, my name is Mr. Peters, your grade will be based on this, that, or the other. It's the first thing, that's how they introduce themselves. My name, and grade. That's how every single instructor, true or not true, my name is this, your grade will be based on this. That was it. So it became clear to me straight away that no one's there for the education. There is only for the grade. Because if you get good grades, then you get a good job and make a lot of money and waste your life. So it was clear that everybody is there only for the grade. Okay. Now imagine you're taking your finals, your final exam, and you want to get an A on the final exam. You study for 3 days and 3 nights, all-nighters, studying for the final exam. You walk into the room, you pick up your paper, your pen, you're ready to start writing, and you're good and prepared, and the instructor says, everybody put your pens down, you get automatic A's. What would the first reaction be at that point? What's it? Why? Somebody said it, right? Like, what? But you want the A. You got what you wanted. But there would be a drop. There's like a certain disappointment, and it's irrational disappointment. Because I got what I wanted without doing it. But there's going to be a disappointment. Why? Because for 3 days, you were pumping yourself up, for lack of a better word, you were psyching yourself up to do this for 3 days. And at the last moment, you got deflated. Avram Avinu, for 3 days, because he's walked for 3 days knowing he has to sacrifice his son, for 3 days, he's getting himself into a state where A, I have to be able to do this. B, I know that if I do this, I'm stepping up into a new level in my connection with God. And he's been pumping himself up for 3 days. And at the last moment, he's got the knife. At the last moment, he says, don't shecht him. There's a drop. And his first reaction is, should I strangle him? That means I've got this, call it for lack of a better term, there's a certain spiritual energy that's bubbling inside of me that needs to be expressed. He says, no, don't strangle him. Should I at least make the cut? Don't make the cut. What should I do? Take the ram. And he takes all of that energy and puts it right into the ram. Let it be as if this is Yitzchak. Let it be if this is Yitzchak. Let it put on the altar. Let it be as if this is Yitzchak. Because he's got something inside that needs to be expressed in a very tangible manner. So Rav Dessler says that translates to us. If you're ever inspired, if we're ever inspired to do something, I don't know what the parameters are as far as the time and how long it lasts. But what he says is, if you're ever inspired to take a step forward, and maybe a difficult step, you've got some inspiration. That inspiration, in order to have an effect on us, the inspiration has to be translated into an action. And if it doesn't get translated into action, the inspiration dissipates and a person's spiritual level then drops to a lower level. That means if a person's got an opportunity, right now I've got an opportunity to take a step forward. And often it's a difficult thing. It's not that a person decided I want to try to, I'm only giving examples. I don't know exactly how I want to learn the Daf Yomi, or I want to spend an extra hour a day studying Gemara. Whatever it is, grab it when you have the inspiration. And then a person, if you grab it, the person actually bumps up into a new level. And if a person doesn't grab the inspiration, then there's going to be a drop. And this could involve Torah study. It could involve interpersonal relationships. It could involve my own work and my own character development to make myself a less selfish person. It doesn't matter where you put it. But when you have that inspiration, you have to grab the inspiration. And that's what's happening with Avraham Avinu over here. With Avraham Avinu, it's all happening is Avraham Avinu trying to translate that inspiration into an action. Okay, now let's go on to Chayei Sarah. So the Torah starts like this. Vayu Chayei Sarah Meya Shana ve'esrim Shana ve'sheva Shanim Shnei Chayei Sarah. The years of Sarah were 100 years and 20 years and 7 years. These were the years of the life of Sarah. So the first question everybody talks about here is, why does it say Shnei Chayei Sarah, the years of the life of Sarah? Why does the Torah repeat it? Why does the Torah repeat it? It says these were her years, and then it ends up the pasuk, these were the years of Sarah. Okay. So one of the commentators says, very cute, the word Shnei not only means years, what else does Shnei mean? It means two. That means Sarah had 2 lives. She had 90 years, and then she had 37 years, because at 90 she gave birth. And it's only when her real life started is when she gave birth to Yitzchak. That's when her life started, because the Gemara says that a person who, Rachel Imenu says, if I don't have children, I'm as good as dead. So Sarah Imenu, her life is broken into 2. There's before Yitzchak and there's after Yitzchak. Okay, now take a look at Rashi. Does Rashi bring it down? Second Rashi, sorry. Let's read one more pasuk. Vatamas Sarah beKiryas Arba hi Chavron beEretz Canaan. Sarah died in Kiryas Arba. Vayovo Avram lispod l'Sarah v'liv kosa. Avram comes to eulogize Sarah and to mourn for her. And you notice that there's a small chaf in the word v'liv kosa. There's a small chaf. That's how it appears in a Sefer Torah. So Rashi says over here in the right column, 3 lines from the bottom. First Rashi says, Vayovo Avram mi Be'er Shava. Avram comes from Be'er Shava. And then it says, Lispod l'Sarah v'liv kosa. He comes to mourn for Sarah and to cry for her, to eulogize Sarah, to cry for her. Says Rashi, V'nismecha misas Sarah le'Akeidah Yitzchak. Why was Sarah's death placed right after the binding of Yitzchak? Lefi sha'yedei b'Sarah's ha'Akeidah, because through hearing the news of the Akeidah, sheniz damein ben shchita, that her son was taken to be shechted, the kimat shelo nishchat, and it was almost got away without being shechted, porcha nishmasa mimena v'mesa. Her neshama left her. What happened? The Satan came to Sarah. There was a rumor that Satan came and he reported, the Satan himself, your son Yitzchak was shechted by his father. So she was broken up. Then he pretended, somehow he disguised himself as Yitzchak, and he walked into the door. And when she saw, after thinking he died, she saw that, oh, it's Yitzchak, he's alive. The joy, she died from the shock. The shock killed her. That's what the Medrash says. And that's why later on, we find in the Torah, later on, when they need to inform Yaakov Avinu that Yosef is alive after 22 years of thinking that he's dead. How did they inform Yaakov? They knew not to shock him, because they already had a tradition in the family. She died from a shock. So what did they do? Remember the story? They sent in Serach, the daughter of Asher, with a harp or a guitar or whatever she played, and she started singing gently, da-da-da-da-da Yosef, da-da-da-da-da Yosef. And slowly but surely she broke the news to Yaakov, so there shouldn't be a shock. That's what the Torah says. That's what the Medrash says. Okay. So the question here is like this. Why does the Torah, why did she have to die as a result of the Akeidah? So there is one opinion that says, well, when she should have believed there would be a Yitzhak, remember last week she laughed cynically? Remember she laughed cynically? When she should have believed it, she didn't. So when she shouldn't have believed it, she did. That was the Mida Keneged Mida. That was her punishment. She got fooled on the other end. Okay, there's a much more a practical idea here. You see, what came first? What came first, the chicken or the death? That means like this. Why did Sarah die? Sarah, she heard the news of the Akeidah. That's what killed her. No. Look at the pasuk again. Look at the first pasuk. Vayushte Chayei Sarah mea shana v'esrim shana v'sheva shanim shnei Chayei Sarah. Those were the years of Sarah. That was her life allotment. Her allotment was 127 years. What would be the cause of death? Cause of death could be a lot of different things. Cause of death could be a heart attack. Cause of death could be, falling off of something. The cause of death under these circumstances, what caused her death? The news of the Akeidah. It wouldn't have been that. It would have been a brain aneurysm. It could have been anything. But she didn't lose time because of the Akeidah. She didn't lose time because of the Akeidah. They had there was a tragic case here in Israel on a Lag BaOmer. They went, people go up to Meron on Lag BaOmer. So there was a guy there, actually a guy from my neighborhood. There was a couple, a frum couple, who asked somebody for a ride back to Yerushalayim. And this guy got in, he started driving, and it seems that he fell asleep at the wheel or he had a blowout. It's not clear. But whatever it was, there was a car accident, and the wife was killed. She was a mother of 13 children, and she was killed. So the guy driving the car was destroyed. He was. So the family was sitting Shiva. I think her name was Sarah, by the way. The family was sitting Shiva. Her father and her husband were sitting Shiva. The wife's daughter. So this guy came in, and this guy is a wreck. And he comes in, and the father says to him, "Why are you so broken up?" He says, "Why am I broken up? I was driving the car. Are you kidding?" And if I felt, it was my fault that she died. He said, "What do you mean it's your fault that she died?" Look at the pasuk. The pasuk says, Chayei Sarah, she had a life allotment. Her life allotment was 127 years. And then she died. She was going to die anyway. He said to him, my daughter, she was going to die anyway. It happened to me. She died through the car accident. If it had not been the car accident, it would have been a heart attack. But she was going to die anyway. He was comforting the driver of the car. That's the truth. By the way, that's the correct Torah hashkafa. Now, why does it say a small chaf? Listen carefully. If you do a mitzvah, you get rewarded, right? If you do a mitzvah, you get rewarded. How could you possibly lose that reward? There's only one way. And by the way, you could do a big Vayeira, it doesn't offset. Then you get rewarded for the mitzvah and you get the punishment for the Vayeira. They don't offset each other. What's that?
If you do it begrudgingly?
Close. If you do it begrudgingly, it's good. So, I'll do it. Begrudgingly, it's not as good. Sometimes.
Regret it?
Yes. If you regret it afterwards. Oh. The Satan himself understands he just took a big defeat from Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu passed a major test here with the Akeidah. He was willing to shecht his son. He passed the test. That's a big defeat of the Satan from Avram Avinu and the Jewish people. He's got one last shot. He's got one last shot at Avram Avinu, which is, imagine how Avram Avinu feels. He comes back from the Akeidah. He probably wants to share some good news with his wife about how we've got a blessing for eternity now. And he comes home and he finds out she died. And he says, "What happened? How'd she die?" News of the Akeidah. That's a big test for Avram Avinu. What's the reaction? Oh boy, what did I do that for? Right there is the last shot for the Sultan. Maybe I'll get him to regret the Akeidah. So there's a small chaf which indicates, Liv Kosa, he cried less than he normally would. Because if you cry a lot, crying arouses the emotions. He doesn't want to arouse those emotions so that he won't end up regretting the Akeidah and wiping out the entire merit. And therefore, Avram Avinu, is the small chaf. Yes, he knows that's her life allotment. He knows that. But sometimes when you're emotionally taken up, well, maybe I don't know what would have happened had I not done that. And therefore, Avraham Avinu avoids the crying in order not to wipe out the merit of the Akeidah. And that's why she has to die through the Akeidah. That's the last test of Avraham Avinu. Yeah.
Why is that not considered a test?
What it is considered a test.
So 11 tests?
It's not one of the 10 tests, but it's certainly a test. It's certainly a test. Listen, Avraham Avinu also had to wake up every morning. That's also a test. Or we go through that test every morning. It's whether we're going to get out of bed. That's also a test. These are the 10 tests. This is also an agonizing test. It's a good question. It's also an agonizing. Okay. Continue tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem.